So, what was I talking about? Mm, oh, so I think Fenn, with my very little channel, I have a group of people, a small group of people who send me very stuff. They seem to kind of be on the same wavelength. So when they send me stuff, it's stuff I can use or I find interesting. And as small as my channel is, I sometimes have gotten overwhelmed. The last video got a lot of comments. I mean, not just comments, which I try to read all those online, a lot of emails, and of course, a lot of comments, and I'm trying to read them all. So I find that to be a lot to look through, and I really do try to look through as much as possible. I think for someone like a Forrest Fenn, who is a minor celebrity, he must have just gotten unbelievable amounts of mail and phone calls and whatever, comments obviously about all the videos are published about him, and it seems like he tried to keep up with what was going on and what he was reading on the internet about him. So I just think Forrest Fenn, if he found people like Colorado Searcher, I can understand why he is saying, you really helped me a lot, because she's out there sending him stuff that he is not finding on his own. Probably doesn't have the time to find. And that's a big help to him, I'm sure. Well, the next one is no subject. I don't know what the conversation was. She must have asked him about me. And this is what Fenn said on August 31st. No, I didn't email. Now, this would, if he had just watched the Fenn conspiracy theories that I published on August 30th, then of course he saw a lot of speculative stuff. He saw a lot of speculation, not necessarily factually based stuff. So that I tell myself that before I read this part. Fenn said to her, no, I didn't email Eric. It might just make him mad to find out he is wrong on so many fronts. I am still considering it, though. Whew, that would have been pretty amazing if I'd gotten an email from Forrest Fenn. Back when I first started doing the hunt back in 2017, I was notified very quickly after I put out my first couple of series that Fenn was supposedly watching. The person said something like, well, Fenn's watching these videos, right? And I just went, okay. But, I took it with a grain of salt. Who were they? How do they know? The only time I ever did think I was being there was the video where the person did the thing about meeting Fenn on the street corner in Santa Fe and said that he could walk directly to the treasure from here, meaning staying in Santa Fe. Now, that was not necessarily me thinking it was Forrest Fenn, but that was a searcher that was a weird one. And then he got all angry at me about the way I was handling. That was another one where he kind of wanted me to kind of tell his story, and then I didn't do it the way he wanted or something, and we get into it. But the only time I ever felt like I was talking to, or rather Forrest Fenn sent me an email, which apparently it probably wasn't him because he makes it sound like he didn't even know who I was. But then again, kind of like with the Finder. Remember 2018 I called you? But this would have been for Forrest so far under his radar. It's so insignificant. But I got this rather paternal, it was in my first videos after maybe the first few months. I got this rather paternal comment. And this guy, I don't even remember his name, of course, and he said something to the effect of, do you need to use this kind of language? Because I think I just put out one or two videos that were kind of had some, I don't get graphic, but I mean, maybe a hell or a damn or something. And I said, does it bother you? And he said, well, not so much me. He said, but maybe the kids, if any are watching. And then I said something, I think, like, oh, well, it's not really for kids, but do you think I should stop using it? And this was the point that kind of struck me. The person said, well, I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's your channel. These are your videos. The whole tone of it almost seemed like someone who's kind of tracking everything and feels almost kind of a little responsible for what's out there. I've always forgotten that comment, those comments, and it, you know, certainly in the scheme of things, very insignificant, right? But it all is, I still remember it because I just felt like I was dealing with a paternal kind of person who cared about how the hunt was being presented. And I was wondering if that was Forrest Fenn. But he was cool. He was like, no, it's your series. Do what you want. Just almost kind of like just wondering. All right, so those are the emails, folks. That's it. Yep. Forrest Fenn's last comment to me was, I didn't email Eric. It might just make him mad to find out he is wrong on so many fronts. I am still considering it, though. And that would have been Forrest Fenn reacting to me after he watched 2 series that I did that were probably the most critical of Forrest Fenn that I ever was in my entire life. So, it's just ironic. All right. A few more things from Colorado Searcher for the search community. She said about the stick comment where Forrest Fenn agrees with her that the finder, this could be the biggest thing in this whole series. I think this will be a 2-parter. This could be the biggest thing, is his comment about the stick. Forrest Fenn says to her, yes, I agree. I agree with your opinion about the finder put the stick on the chest to confuse people, to maybe even make them wonder why Forrest would put the stick on top of the chest. Colorado Searcher says, my own honest opinion of Forrest's comment to me about the stick is he was just as puzzled as the rest of us as to why the finder would add a stick to the chest for his own amusement. Yeah. So if the finder is out there, if you want to comment on this, feel free. Also, if you want to email me, it's in the description, or it's on my channel description, however that works. If you want to email me, Finder, and we just talk, it's cool. We can do that. Yeah, that's very interesting. Someone said that they had looked at the type of stick and actually went online and looked at all the different samples of twigs they could find, and they narrowed that stick down to that twig down to a willow. And of course, my solve is on Willow Creek in Three Forks, Montana. So like many searchers, I'm going, all right, this is a comment from Colorado Searcher for the search community. After the find was announced, did Forrest suggest to anyone else that they should keep the full details of their solve private? And if so, what state were you searching in? Just put it in the comments. She'll be looking at all the comments. So did Forrest Fenn tell anyone to keep their solve private, the details of their solve private? And she was curious, if so, what state are you in? And she says, back in 2018, remember she was notified by Forrest Fenn, who had just been notified by one of his inner circle that the Nightline article was about to broadcast that evening. She says, back in 2018, how many searchers received an email from Forrest notifying them of the upcoming Nightline TV broadcast, where he was interviewed and quoted for having a gut feeling the treasure would be found soon? That was an interview where he said, remember the famous 2018, he has a gut feeling it'll be found soon. Again, she asked, if so, if you received an email from Fenn saying that show was going to be on, what state were you searching in at the time? I mean, I'd be surprised if there are very many people getting emails like she got about the Nightline TV series, but what do I know? These are the people that really knew Forrest Fenn, and to some extent from the searcher community. I'm very excited that Forrest Fenn watched some of my videos like to, like in the weeks up to his death, but I'm kind of, I hope he watched some other ones because there were some that were very complimentary of the man. As I've told people who have gotten on my case about this whole thing with supposedly not liking Fenn, I just am following it the way it goes, and I have found that the ending to me has been a bit of a mess. That's all. Things about if Forrest Fenn did go out and retrieve it, I have said before, and I'll say it again, I have no problem with that. I think Forrest Fenn had created a monster. He had a tiger by the tail with this chase, and nothing good was going to come of it. In fact, I think there's another lawsuit in the offing, I've heard. So, and there may be more lawsuits against the Fenn estate for whatever reason. And as I've said before, I think his lawyers just said, you're between a rock and a hard place. Any way you end it's going to be bad because you're going to get sued by somebody. So to just go out there and try to pretend like it was found, I think that would have been the smartest thing to do, ethics aside, ethics aside. I don't think it's illegal to do. All right, folks, what else do I have for anybody? Is that it? Am I done? Oh, thank goodness I remembered this. Colorado Searcher had a problem with me because I think it's in the last video. Maybe it's in the one before that. I don't remember. But anyway, I said about the bracelet. I showed Forrest Fenn. I was talking about Forrest Fenn, his revenge quote. And I said in this video that Forrest Fenn once had said, "Me wearing the bracelet will be your best revenge." That's what the title says where I said it. Unfortunately, what actually came out of my mouth was, "Me wearing the bracelet," and I'm paraphrasing, but what I said, he said was, I said, and Forrest said, "Me wearing the bracelet will be my best revenge." He didn't say that. He said, "Me wearing the bracelet will be your best revenge." He's talking to the finder, and he's telling the finder that if I'm seen on camera wearing the bracelet, it means the chest was retrieved, it means it was found, it means it was not a hoax. So it proves that you did find it, that it's real. The bracelet proves it. So I said one thing, if you were listening, and the title said the correct thing, and Colorado Searcher, for some reason, that really bothered her. So I said, sure, I'll correct that. Yeah, the video coming up, the next video about Forrest Fenn, the Forrest Fenn hunt is going to be around for a while, folks. There's just getting around it. The ending's too odd, and we still have the sale of the chest, however that happens. Obviously, we still don't know who the finder is. Obviously, we still don't know what the location is. I wish someone could explain to me why that's so important. I think nobody really feels like it's that important, or nobody believes the idea that this person, the finder, is just wants to keep the area pristine so he can go out there and lay in the grass under the tall pines and imagine him and Fenn out there together. And he mentioned specifically about the location that he would, something about keeping it pristine. Just doesn't make sense to me. Makes much more sense that there's a legal issue. And as I've said before, I'm repeating myself, but as I've said before, if the treasure is sold, auctioned off, whatever, I really am going to have a hard time wondering why it's so important to keep the location. Even the identity of the person. People have contacted me and said, good grief, people win the lottery all the time. They don't hide their identity. Yeah. But some do. But once you've got the money, the money's in the bank, so to speak, what's the point? I mean, if your point... being a millionaire now is not what it used to be. Obviously, I'm not one, and a lot of us aren't. But there are plenty of people that have $2 million, just to throw a figure out there, and their names are in the phone book, okay, folks? I mean, their names are in the phone book. You can probably go knock on their door for Halloween and you wouldn't even know. Someone finding this treasure and having that kind of money after the net, which would probably be about half the money, looking over their shoulder the rest of their life, I don't know. That's making less sense the more I think about it. It's just not that big a deal. I think the only thing that really would keep people going after, quite frankly, if you think about it, if the finder came out with a book or a documentary, told the whole story, sold the chest, I think nobody would have any desire in the world to bother them. I mean, if you make it clear how you found it and where it is, and you make it clear you don't have all that money under your bed, so I suppose someone could come in and try to rob you, well, who cares? What are you going to be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life? You're not. Nobody cares. People just want to know what the location is. Your identity finder, if you're watching this, is far less important as far as, I think most people, I'm just speaking for myself, kind of an everyman. I don't really care who the finder is. It would be interesting, but all I really care about is how he found the chest and the location. That's it. So everybody, I'm really sad Forrest Fenn is gone. He was a real character. I'm very excited to know that he kind of knew this little teeny bit about me at the end there, even though my videos were the worst he could have ever watched. I hope everyone's having a good day. I hope everyone's having a good life. Exciting things to come and talk about. And, I would like to say this. As a rule, what I did today with this series with posting these emails is not something I would plan on doing. You can see why I did this, right? They were about me. They were very relevant to me. I'm just, I don't normally just post stuff on behalf of searchers and viewers, but I think this has been very cool. I want to thank Colorado Searcher. I think it was very cool information she sent me, obviously. And I almost forgot. Good God, Eric, I'm glad I keep talking. Because I always think I've got stuff that I should remember. Wouldn't you think I'd be more organized? Okay, before I go, the last thing. Yeah, so this will be a two-parter. Some of you must say to yourself, why do you keep worrying about it? It's two-parter? Because it's editing. I'm just kind of, I'm thinking about how much work I had ahead of me. Those 5-parters are long editing session. Okay, this is something the searcher said about the double omegas. This is a great way to end this series, this two-parter, because this is what she says. This is her theory. She's talking about the finder. If he really solved the riddle on his own and he was a true friend to Forrest, then he'd know the double omegas represent a double ending. One end for Forrest's father's suicide and the other end for Forrest's suicide if his cancer ever came back. His father's omega was already complete and his own, Forrest's, was drawing nigh to be completed on a wink and a promise. And how could a true friend of Forrest be selfish enough, she's speaking of the finder, how could a true friend of Forrest's be selfish enough to let him suffer the stress of the lawsuits and hoax accusations alone without insisting on standing by his side defending their friend's integrity? Those are my thoughts, in my humble opinion. So 2 things though. The double omegas represent Forrest's father's suicide and Forrest's suicide if he did commit suicide. And then she is just saying what a lot of people have said about the finder. Where were you when Fenn needed you? Why didn't you come forward while Fenn was still alive and putting up with all the people questioning whether it was a hoax, etc.? Good question. Good idea about the omegas. Everybody, have a great day. More coming at you. See you later.